All righty, let's get started. So, I want to welcome everybody to this month's workshop. For those of you who've been part of the past ones we've had every month, you know that they're all on different topics. Today's actually about understanding life insurance. Now, this is one of the main questions that I usually get is around life insurance. A lot of people ask, do I need it? What kind should I have? How much should I have? So this is a very requested workshop. I hope you guys get a lot out of it. For those of you who haven't been to one of our workshops before, I'm Chris Price. I'm one of our certified financial planners, and it's really my job to help educate the community on financial topics. So like I stated earlier, sometimes it's on different things like maybe retirement or estate planning or investing. Other times on things like insurances and budget and stuff like that. For those of you who have been part of our workshops before, you know I always go over the same thing first, and it's really the definition of what financial well-being is. Now, financial well-being is defined by the Consumer Financial Protections Bureau. And what it means is having control over day-to-day, month-to-month finances, having a budget, understanding your inflows, understanding your outflows. Two, having the capacity to absorb a financial shock. If you've never been part of one, there's going to be something that happens in your life that is unexpected and cost or requires some money. Can you absorb that shock? Three, being on track to meet financial goals. Now, the key word here is being on track to meet financial goals. I encourage everyone to set financial goals. There will be a time when you get knocked off track. Can you find your way back to the goal that you want to accomplish? And the fourth one is having the financial freedom to make choices just to really enjoy your life. This may be something as simple as maybe going out to eat or something as complex as lavish vacations. Whatever it is that you're enjoying in your life, if you have the financial freedom to be able to do that. So today, we're going to talk about what is life insurance, as we already explained. We're going to talk about the different types of life insurance. One of the most popular questions I get. We're going to talk about other reasons why people buy permanent insurance, and we're going to talk about how much you need. So first and foremost, what is life insurance? Well, life insurance is a financial product. In exchange for the premiums that you pay, the insurance company is going to give a death benefit when that insured dies. Now, this death benefit goes to the beneficiaries and is usually, or generally speaking, income tax free to them. Now, there's other scenarios, but generally speaking, income tax free. So, again, what is life insurance? So, an insurance's death benefit may be used for many things. The goal is to help the loved ones you have. Now, a lot of times you may think that's for when you have kids or something of that nature, but it's really just for anyone that's going to financially be in pain. God forbid you were to pass. Maybe it's because you're providing an income and this death benefit will help replace that income. Maybe it is because you had some debt that you're paying off and this death benefit will help pay off that debt. Or maybe there's future expenses that you want to make sure are covered, that you want to make sure that this death benefit does. Now, a lot of times we talk about, well, who should have life insurance or not? And I'll be honest with you, the majority of the time when I get this question, it's because someone just had a kid, or they got married, or something of that nature. In reality, anybody who's financially helping, supporting somebody else should maybe have life insurance because God forbid they weren't there, then that life insurance can step in. One of the big examples most don't think about is what if you own a business with somebody else? You're a partner in that business. Well, a lot of times both of you or many of you contribute something to that business, which helps feed the revenue that business has. Well, maybe insurance needs to be if God forbid one of those pieces were to not be there anymore. And then, yes, like most people think, if you are married, if you have kids, if you have other people who are financially dependent on you, you should look into something like this, life insurance. Now, I know when we look at our slide here, we see 2 times, there are more than many types of life insurance. But the 2 main ones we're going to see on our screen here, term insurance and permanent insurance. Now let's first look at term insurance. Term insurance is by far the more or most common type of life insurance. Basically, it's going to be life insurance that lasts for a certain term. Most common, it's 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, or 30 years. Basically, what you're doing is you're telling the insurance company for the next X number of years, right? No matter how many of those years are, you're going to pay a premium. And if something happens throughout that time period, they're going to give your beneficiaries the death benefit. Term insurance, generally speaking, is the least expensive kind of life insurance. And it's because it may not be for your entire life, but only for that set number of years or that time period. Permanent insurance is a little different. Permanent insurance is designed to have lifetime protection. So that's how it's designed. Now, depending on some structures, maybe it's not going to last that long, but it's designed to be the rest of your life. Because of that, the coverage is going to be a little bit more expensive. Right? The insurance companies know they're going to be paying that death benefit at some point, but at what point? Because of this, there's been a lot of creativity within the life insurance market around permanent policies. It allows you to have cash value buildup and things of that nature that you might have already heard of. But before we get there, let's compare those two differences. Now, if we look at cost, term insurance is going to be least expensive. Now, it makes sense, right? It has less benefits. If we want to look at the income being tax-free, the death benefit being income tax-free, they both will receive that. If we want to talk about lifetime protection, I think it makes sense that the permanent policy is that one, not the term. And if we want to talk about potential cash value accumulation, well, the permanent may have that. The terms usually don't. Sometimes there's a return of premium, but may have that. So, all right. What else can permanent life insurance do? The reason this slide has some importance to a lot of people, and you should be engaged with the slide too, is permanent insurance does have a lot of if this, then that scenarios that will end up benefiting you for your life. Now, you are paying for those benefits, right? Where term insurance, they kind of strip them out. So you can have investments in it. You can use it to protect or buy real estate. You can use it to protect or fund some of your retirement. And obviously, permanent life insurance will last the rest of your life. So what some people have used this cash value scenario for. Now, the one thing I want to make sure that we talk about and understand is a lot of these cash values, there's no guarantee or something in nature. You can find some of it that way, but generally speaking, don't think that everything is guaranteed because it's in a life insurance, for sure. But there will be or could be some cash value buildup on there. Now, a lot of these buildups are maybe for what they call maturity of the policy, when the policy is paid up or paid for, meaning we don't have to pay for it anymore. But we can also maybe strip some of this cash out in strategic ways. There's been clients who've used these to supplement their retirement planning, supplement college funding, or be a source of cash for credit, like an easy source of cash for credit. Now, one of the biggest questions I get when it comes to insurance over the other ones is how much do I really need? And I think this is a huge question and also something that's maybe not thought about as much as it should be. A lot of times people say, well, I have coverage and check it off. They could have not enough where it's insufficient, or they could be paying for way too much. So what's the appropriate or right amount? And this is going to depend on what that income is that you're bringing in, right? What is the amount that your family's going to lose? A lot of times when I talk about income, I'm not talking about Social Security income or pension income that may continue even if you're not there. I'm talking about income that will not continue if you're not there, right? Maybe there's some kind of employer benefits that you do have that will also cease to exist if, God forbid, you're not there. Well, how are we going to fund those? Maybe there's unpaid services that you might have later on in your life, right? Where you want to make sure those debts are wiped out. So consider the value that your loved ones might, or consider the cost your loved ones might have and how this life insurance may consider. So next one of the questions I do get is, a lot of times we do have coverage at work. And that is a great source of getting inexpensive, typically speaking, life insurance from you. Just make sure we know how long that coverage will last. Some work coverages allow you to have portability or convertibility when you leave your job. Some may not allow you to have portability. And if you do, what is that cost of that portability? All these things are important to know now before you get to that scenario where you want it and it's unattainable. Cool. So if you do decide to purchase life insurance on your own, there are some benefits that go along with it. Once you are to purchase life insurance, let's say on your own outside of work, you can obviously, or would be a supplement to your employers. You own it. You could take it with you. It doesn't matter if you leave your job or anything, it is yours. You have more choices on what you purchase, term, permanent, things of that nature like that. Regularly review your life insurance to ensure it meets your needs. Now, if you're like most people, your finances change. If you're also like a common occurrence, you need more insurance younger on in your life than later on in your life. And a lot of times that's because we are worth more from a human capital standpoint early on. And just to give you a little example is if you're someone who's making, let's say, $100,000 a year and you're 20 years old, you're going to make $100,000 a year for a long time. You're making $100,000 a year and you're 60 years old, you're not going to. Also, something you got to consider is that 60-year-old might already have a lot more assets that will pass on to their family. So having more insurance later on may not be the scenario. But to combat that on the other side, maybe we have to worry about inflation. Things become more and more expensive as we age. So reviewing our life insurance, making sure we have the right amount is extremely important. Reviewing our life insurance, seeing if things like our health has improved, allows us to get discounts. It'd be extremely important. One of the biggest things I see that should be changed or reviewed frequently is updating our beneficiaries. And then, is your financial professional still active? Unfortunately, in that industry, there's a lot of turnover. Making sure you have someone looking over your policy. And does that carrier maintain financial strength? Because you're giving them money with the hope and the value that they'll be able to give that money to your beneficiaries at passing. So that being said, review your financial protection you have for your loved ones. Remember, there's two types of life insurance, permanent and term. Remember, permanent does usually have some kind of added value. Maybe it's to accumulate cash value. Maybe it's some kind of long-term need or something like that. And ensure your life insurance policy meets your current need. So with that being said, this is a quick and easy one. So hopefully everybody got a lot from it. If you do have questions on it, I have a QR code here that allow you to ask questions, complete a survey. And if you need time, schedule with us on the calendar. I hope everyone had an amazing day, and I look forward to seeing you next month.